Hi guys, thanks for coming. I'm Ryan from the Las Vegas Lair, and tonight we got Christian S. Valentino with Doing It Direct. This is going to be all on direct game and direct approach. And I've seen the guy in field, and I've seen some pretty ballsy shit. And I think you guys will enjoy this presentation. So, without further ado, come on in, Christian.
Okay, thanks for coming, everybody that came. So, one of the things that my favorite style of game, personally, is direct game. And it's one of the things that I've learned that it really cuts out the bullshit and it gets you right into where you want to be. And one of the biggest things that it gets you out of is getting in the friend zone. Because if you go with something very, very direct, you know, it's one of those things that when you go direct, you give the women the option up front of, hey, take it or leave it. You know, this is what it is, this is where I'm at. You want to take it to the next level? Let's go. And one of the things I've learned about direct, and who's here actually done some kind of direct style game? Okay, like what kind of, because one of the things that I've used, it's either like, you know, I'll go up and I'm going to say, hey, this is going to sound totally random, out of the blue, but I was sitting down over here and I noticed you walking by, and you just kind of like pause it a little bit and you build up the anticipation. And I thought you were just absolutely adorable, or absolutely cute, whatever you already have kind of in your mind, what you already want to have as a girl. And so I guess that's one of the things that we're going to talk today. So I'm going to do that. Some of the things I'm about to talk about is certain triggers that you can talk to women, and it's once you know a few of these triggers, it's going to give you the certainty that, okay, this works most of the time as a rule of thumb, and it's something you can use that always keeps on triggering attraction women. So it'll give you more of the confidence to just keep on going, keep on practicing. And that's one of the things that I've noticed is that, yeah, sure, you can have a lot of theory, you can know a lot of stuff, but until you actually take it into practice, it doesn't really matter. So, here we go. Now, before I get into a lot of this stuff, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background of me and where I come from. And one of the things I've noticed in the community, there's a lot of guys who say, hey, I used to be a total nerd, loser, whatever, and I was really smart, and you know, and then I learned how to become a Mac Daddy pimp player at the game. And that's not where I come from. I actually used to be a stupid jerk, well, not a stupid jerk, but a stupid jock. And basically, my thing was, in high school, I was the captain of the wrestling team. I had an Acura Integra that was like, I don't know what I was doing, but I think I was watching too much Fast and the Furious. And I got like an import tuner car with like body kit, the paint job, the whole 9 yards.
Neon underneath.
I didn't get to that point yet, but I was getting close to that, like what they call a Frankenstein swap. So it's like a new engine.
Supercharger?
Not a supercharger. Like it was like a V18 with a Type R head, and it was just like really like high compression engine. And I had, you know, I was like from wrestling, I was just really ripped. So that's what I used to get women's attention. I just used my body and like, you know, my assets, my car. And at the age of 17, 18, like I was pretty good. Like I didn't really have to work at it with women, and it just kind of naturally came to me. And it was one of those things that just ended up being lucky. Okay, it just kind of come to me. I don't have to work at it. And the thing that happened after I graduated, basically I didn't, you know, no more girls that I can talk to from school were gone, and the only girls I can talk to is from work, and that wouldn't really work. But at one point in the middle of the summer, I got my car stolen. I stopped working out, so I lost my six-pack, and you know, it was basically all my crutches that I had were gone. And I was like, oh shit. And it basically got to a point where I just didn't get it. Like I would see a cute girl, and one of the biggest sticking points for me was, you know, I would be too much of a nice guy. And I would see a girl, like very, very cute, adorable girl, go out with this total jerk. And it didn't make sense to me because, you know, she would complain about him all the time, but yet she, you know, I was over here trying to be nice to her and try to be cool with her, and she would just keep on end up with a jerk. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? So I had to get serious with my life, handle it for me. And one day I kind of got into somebody at the pool, because I used to work as a lifeguard, one of the guests came in with like a Bible looking thing, and I was like, what the fuck is this? So I went on Amazon, I checked it out, and it was like the game. So like, okay, it's interesting. So I bought it, and I read some of it, and I don't know, it was just interesting to me. Like, okay, so guys actually can learn this stuff. They can learn how to pick up women. They can, do this stuff. I'm like, okay, there's something to this. But one of the things I've learned from it was it wasn't congruent to who I was. It just felt like very manipulative and very, step by step. And a lot of the ways, the conversation styles that we're using was just not congruent to. I couldn't see myself using those kind of routines. And I was like, there's something to this, but I'm not going to use this style. And I went online, I researched different people. David D'Angelo, awesome stuff. Highly recommend this stuff. And the first time I seen that guy, I was like, who's this douchebag? Like up on a stage, there was like a picture of him up on like a seminar, and I was like, who's this douchebag? And then I started studying some of his stuff, and he talked about cocky funny, and a lot of more attitude stuff in the inner game. And I was like, okay, this is where it's at. And there's something to this right here. And so the more I got into the inner game, and then I found the direct approach, and that's what really skyrocketed my game. So a couple of things that I'm about to share with you are things that I really kept to myself for a long time, and I've only shared with a few private clients of mine, so I've worked with, and so I'm just pretty glad to share some of this stuff. Now, I'm not sure exactly where you're at, but if you're here right now, for the most part, if you're not really having the success you want with women, it's probably because of your current approach is why, you're probably getting rejected, you're probably not getting the numbers that you're looking for. And, some of the guys that I've met that get too much into the theory, they just end up, going frustrated and going home alone. So, we're going to solve that. So, the first secret, quote unquote, is women are attracted to men who know what they want, have the balls to go out and get it. That's why direct approach works so well on the specific type of girls. Because if you go up and have the balls to go, hey, you are just super cute. Come on, let's go do something random. And you just kind of get her in the moment, and you talk to her and just pull her. And she'll be like, oh, all right. But notice some of the girls that are the very, very touchy-feely types. And a lot of the stuff I do is during the day. Who here is like straight up day game? I don't really do too much night game. One of the reasons why it tends to be very, very competitive, and for the most part, one of the best strategies or game plans is like what they call an entourage game, which you get a whole bunch of your buddies and a whole bunch of other people, and it's basically like you're a mini tribe almost, and you go into a club and you have your whole entourage, and basically the women come to you naturally. And that's, I guess, the best solution in that kind of environment. But with day game, it's one of those things that you can go just by yourself with a shirt, some jeans, and get the number, get the clothes, take it to the next level wherever you want to take it, but without no crutches. And it's just very, very bam to the point. Know thy mating market. And one of those things is, there's always, those kind of things that, like, you can. A lot of guys talk, like, especially dating gurus, talk about, like, there's, a method that if you use this method, you'll get every kind of girl, whatever girl you can have, you'll get every single one, which is not true. But if you know exactly the type of girl that you want, there is a strategy to get her. So if you're into very spontaneous, very, the type of girls that like getting a lot of attention, like to go to the clubs, if you go direct on that type of girl, she'll kind of feel like it's too much pressure. You're kind of, it's not socially intelligent to her in her world. So the better strategy is not to go direct, for the most part. But if you go very situational and playful with her, that's the thing that works the best. And you're just kind of there, like, she says something like, as far as you notice something in the club, or even if you're at a bar, you can tell something about the game or something that's happening in the moment, but as long as it's not about her directly. Because if you talk about her directly, she'll feel uncomfortable with it. But with the women, they are very, you can tell, it's one of those things that, a lot of guys in the community talk about calibration. It's just about, being very, it's kind of almost very mechanical when they talk about it. But basically it's emotional intelligence and social intelligence. And it's one of those things that when you're talking to a girl, and sometimes you'll go direct on a very spontaneous, crazy girl, and she'll seize up and she'll kind of get a little bit like stiff and she's like, oh, it's too much. You want to switch up the strategy, switch up get a little bit more adaptable and just kind of get into like a more of a, what's it called, brain fart. Get more into a situational approach, like right off the bat, because she'll know. It's basically you help her release that like kind of tension that you build when you went direct. But it's one of those things that when you go direct on a girl that's very spontaneous and she noticed that you're able to switch up the strategy really quickly. She's like, okay, this guy's cool. It's not weird or creepy. It's like, okay, he knows how to be socially intelligent. Like, okay, he can hang. So, but one of the things that you really need to know is know exactly the type of girl that you want up front. Because a lot of guys that don't do this, they end up at the end of the day, like they can spend years learning the whole pickup dating stuff, but if they don't know exactly what they want, they're just basically lost. They're gonna end up a few years later not just, maybe learning a little bit of this, learning a little bit of that, but not really getting the results they actually really wanted in the first place. So, okay. So, secret number 3. Create your personal dating game plan. And one of the things in the community they talk about, there's night game, there's day game, there's direct game, there's indirect, there's walking your dog game, there's, all these styles of game. And one of the things is, my thing is not, there's, one game is better than the other, but it all comes down to what do you want. These are all just strategies. These are all things that you can use if you want a specific result. So if you want more dates and, hook up, like maybe you can go meet a girl during the day and get her number or, meet her up later on that day and have like an instant date, that's the best strategy. If you kind of want to go out to a club and you just kind of want to like flaunt and just kind of attract a lot of girls during the night and bring a lot of people and it's a really, really fun thing, and you want to create like a social circle type of game, that's a better strategy. But just know that all these types of games are just different dating game plans. And if the one that you resonate the best, just go with it and take it off. There's no, one method that's beyond all methods. So this is actually my most favorite quote when it comes to attraction. Who's heard of attraction isn't a choice? Exactly. And when attraction isn't a choice, it's one of those things that when I first heard it, I was like blown away. I'm like, wow, okay. And, for the most part, a lot of guys who are nice guys tend to try to make it very logical. And like, if a woman says like, oh, what do you do? What kind of job do you do? What's your name? Where you're from? And all this stuff. It's very logical. It's like a very intellectual thing. And if a guy, starts answering, her questions, her requests, she'll just put you in a box. It's like, oh, you're an insurance guy. Oh, you're a real estate dude. And then she already has like a, kind of like a predetermined concept of who you are, and it's hard to get out of that. Because women always have these different categories of, okay, even with women, they have like, okay, that's my, shopping girlfriend, that's my, when I have a big problem with the family or the boyfriend, I'll go talk to this friend. Women have all these categories. So if you talk to a woman and she starts asking you all these questions, don't answer them. Just kind of avoid it or make fun of it, play with it, but never answer a direct question, because once she puts you into a logical, structured, narrow category, it's hard to get out of it, first of all, once you get put in it. And it's going to be harder to get into that, attraction, because there's 3 parts to the brain, so to speak. Who's heard of triune brain theory? Well, the long and short is basically, supposedly, there's 3 parts of the brain. There's the primal, instinctual, physical part of the brain, the reptilian brain. And then there's the other part, the emotional, they call it the mammalian brain. That's where all the chemicals and our highs and ups come from. And then we got the higher brain, the neocortex, the logical, rational brain. And a lot of guys try to solve it at the logical level. You really can't solve it there. So in order to trigger attraction, you have to get into the emotions and express certain things that the more you express, the more you start triggering those attractions in her, and she's going to start chasing you instead of you trying to chase her. So once you get really good at triggering certain like little attraction mechanisms of women, whether it's, one of the principles of, influence is social proof. And that's one of those things that, actually I forgot to say about attraction. I'm just kind of curious. Can you guys throw out a couple of definitions of what you guys probably heard of what attraction is?
It's hard to describe. It's just something that actually happens. I don't think there's a really good definition because for each person it's going to be a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like one of my, current thinking about how attraction works and what it is, because it's really because it's not a logical thing. And it's not really an emotional, but it kind of is. But it's more of a biological thing, more than anything. But once they get triggered, the response is like, whoa, like people just really want something. And then it's one of those things. But one of the things I noticed about attraction, it's almost like unconscious and automatic persuasion. Because when people are attracted to something, it's all this emotions and all these chemicals starts kicking in. And they're not even aware that they're there, but they just kind of go out and want to get it so bad. So it's like, notice whenever you try to, when the new iPhone came out, it's like, oh yeah, and everybody else is getting it. And it's like those chemicals start kicking in. It's like, yeah, I want it. And that's part of attraction, but my perspective from right now is that attraction really is unconscious and automatic and effortless persuasion. And it's something that you can start triggering. But once you get really good at triggering those attraction triggers, she's gonna get hooked. And the things is about attraction is that you can bump it up, bump it up, bump it up. And once it gets to a high point, and a woman's really, really in the moment, happy, liking it. A lot of guys try to keep on bumping it up higher and higher. When you take it to a peak, one of the best things you can do is take it away. Because once you take it away, you kind of leave her almost like high and dry a little bit, and then she's gonna feel like, oh, where did they go? And you just kind of take your attention away, and until you can come back with it, but you're building it and building it and building it. But learn when to take it away, because if you just try to build it up, she's gonna get bored. It's gonna be predictable. But if you learn to take it away, build it up, take it away, build it up, that's where it intensifies. Now, one of my favorite quotes comes from Albert Einstein, and I've kind of mentioned it here earlier, but Albert Einstein once said that you can't solve the significant problems at the same level of thinking that created them. So, with dating and attraction and meeting women, what a predictable pattern that I noticed, especially with really, really smart guys, is that they get this problem with meeting women, and they try to solve it with a very logical, linear process. And one of the things, they'll get more ebooks, they'll get more programs, they might go to a boot camp or two, and try to overanalyze. And at the end of the day, what they end up doing is mentally masturbating and just getting a lot of information overload, and then they don't do anything, just get stuck. And this is one of the problems that I had with the first 2 years learning this stuff. I just thought that if I learn more stuff, I'm gonna get better. If I learn this little tip, this little trick, I'm gonna get better. And even with the inner game stuff, the more the inner game stuff is good, but you have to apply it. You have to practice it. And you can't just think about it and conceptualize it all day, because at the end of the day, you're not doing anything. You're just sitting there. So you have to understand that this dating game is an emotional game and totally irrational game. It's not a logical thing, and if you try to solve it at a logical level, you're gonna get nowhere. So get into the emotions and let yourself flow into it. Because one of the things I've noticed with guys is that I try to, get into the concept like, hey, try this, kind of bust on her, tell her that she looks like trouble, tell her different things, and just say things that are totally unpredictable and random. And guys like, oh, that's not me, or oh, that's a little bit too much, and the kind of guys tense up. But notice how you felt when I told you to say that. And though, I got a response, an emotional response from somebody that I'm trying to teach. That means if you felt it, she's gonna feel it too. So you have to learn to get into the emotions and take her through that emotional roller coaster. Build that drama. Because if you don't have that drama, that little bit of a emotional drama in there, and she doesn't feel anything for you, it's basically gonna go nowhere. So one of the last little secrets is, in sales they say always be closing, the ABCs of sales, but with attraction and dating, always be expressing. So it's really right now, if you haven't if you still have a lot of approach anxiety and you kind of feel nervous about approaching, just keep on doing, just keep on expressing, just put yourself out there, keep on doing it. And the more you do it, you start training your brain that, hey, this is okay, and hey, this is cool, like nothing bad's gonna happen, and if it does happen, it doesn't really matter anyways, and it's her loss at the end of the day. So, and even if it's in conversation and you kind of stale out and you can't keep the conversation flowing, just put yourself in more situations and you'll start getting better and better and better. A lot of it just keep on doing it, keep on doing it. So the difference between guys who are really, really good with women and guys who don't ever end up getting dates and kind of stay home all the time and don't, get this area of their life handled, is that guys who are just really, really good with women, they're always putting themselves out there. They know it's a numbers game, and you gotta play the numbers right. So the more you put yourself out there, the more. One of the things I was about to tell you guys is that when I first started doing a lot of stuff, I kind of felt like I knew the type of woman that I want, like really hot, very smart, very creative. But part of me felt like, but I'll never get that girl, or she's way out of my league. It's not gonna happen. But I had to kind of trick myself a little bit of thinking, no, okay, if I kind of reinforce that belief, if I keep on saying this stuff to myself, then I'm never gonna get that. So let me switch up the strategy and let me, make it think like, oh, what's the most hottest, exotic, my type of girl that can have, and start visualizing that type of girl and just kind of, even though at the time I felt like, oh, it's total bullshit and I'm not gonna get it. But I started doing it and I started, fixing it in my mind like, hey, you know what, from now on, I'm only gonna approach these hot girls. Because if I only approach these types of hot girls, what am I gonna get? These specific hot girls. So I'm playing the numbers game, and just statistically speaking, if I play the numbers right, it's just naturally gonna happen. And I actually got to myself to a point where if I go out to a club or I go out to a day game, whatever, like there's certain girls, like part of my mind just filters out certain girls, and they don't even come up on my radar. But as soon as I can be talking to somebody and I can see like a really hot girl my type, bam, like I just, part of me just, it's like on the radar, on the lookout for that type of girl, and it'll just pop up in my awareness. And I'm like, okay, time to go in. Like all my adrenaline, all my chemicals starts kicking in, and I start to just go for it, just do it. And that's mainly one of the things about going direct is, one of those things with going direct, you have to first learn to be very, very direct with yourself, and learn how to influence yourself. So once you learn how to be okay with feeling that attraction and being able to express it, women will feel it too. They'll notice it, and it's like a different vibe. And one of my favorite things about, because I study different fields and I try to, integrate them, and it's NLP. They talk about a concept of you go first, and it's one of those things that if you ever, they actually got it from like hypnosis or something like that. But they say that if you ever want to put somebody else into a trance, you go first. In leadership context, if you want somebody to do a specific behavior, you go first. Now, with dating and attraction, what I'm going to recommend is, if you want a woman to feel attraction for you, you go first. And just by being really in touch with your intention and that attraction, and when you walk up to her, there's going to be a part of you that's going to express itself and knows everything it needs to know to attract. And we're all hardwired. We already have this stuff in there. We're just not letting that part express itself. So the more we get into this habit of doing it, the better we're going to get. It's just a matter of, it's a numbers game. And if you play the numbers right, you'll get better results.
Now, I got a question on the you go first thing.
Yeah.
And when you say you go first for attraction, do you mean be attracted to her or know what's attractive about yourself and expressing?
It's actually like when I say you go first, you feel that attraction.
You feel what she's going to be attracted to?
No.
Or
like,
what's...
Like
you just feel attraction towards her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, just feel it, because, like, you'll start feeling, you're like, and I've noticed with myself and other people is that you start feeling and you try to, like, hide the fact that you're feeling attraction when you approach it. And you try to, it's almost like this little game that you're playing, like, yeah, I'm attracted to you, but I can't let her know that.
Right.
You know? And it's almost like a belief of, if she knows that I'm attracted to her, or if she knows that I like her, she's going to blow me off.
Yeah, I think it's one of my big issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we play, like, our mind plays all these little games, and it really, it's there to, quote unquote, keep us safe, protect us. But just know that you're more capable than you think you are. And it's one of those things that, part of our minds, the ego tries to protect itself and it tries to keep us in a little bubble. But the more you just put yourself out there and just kind of, two of the main things that you want to do, and this is in any area of your life, increase your awareness, become more aware of your processes and your beliefs and all these little nitty-gritty things. Once you become aware, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the game, this is the story I'm playing. Let me not do that, and let me, consciously put something else over it. So it's like we can either live by default or by design.
Right.
So it's a lot funner to live by design.
Right.
So, and that's one of the things that you have to first, become aware of it, and then kind of, there's actually one of my favorite, I don't know if you guys ever studied or heard of any concepts from neuroscience. I don't know, something that, it's kind of one of my little things that I like to study. But there's a field in it called neuroplasticity. And basically what it says is that, I'm not going to get too into it, but to simplify it is that a lot of the old paradigms, the old ways of looking at the brain, was that the brain was like a machine, and it was a certain way, and it had all these little parts. If one part is broken, then the whole brain is broken. So it's very, very it's a machine. But with neuroplasticity, they say no, actually the brain is not like a machine. It's not pre-wired and hardwired. It can be changeable and it can remold itself. So, so they say that, if you're a shy person, if you have, if you're very, very socially inept, you can't do anything about it. That's, after 18 and your brain grows to a certain age, to a certain way, you can't change it. Well, with neuroplasticity, what they're saying is that, no, that's not true, and the brain can change, and it can rewire itself. So, if you have like an old belief or an old pattern of behavior or beliefs of doing something that's not working, you can actually create like a new highway, like a new neural pathway that's a better positive belief that's going to give you more of the results that you want.
Can you give us some examples of direct approach, like on the street, and what you would do as far as from point A to point B? Going down some of the steps you would say, some of the topics you would get into, some of the teases that you would do with her.
Okay. Yeah. Like say if
and even maybe a number close too.
Okay, a number close. All right. Well, one of the things I would do is it really depends where I see her, but I've done times where I'm just walking by and I see a girl like sitting there, and as soon as I get eye contact, like I'm like, hey, I just approach her like off the bat, and I was like, hey, this is gonna sound super like out of the blue, but I was just kind of walking over here with my buddy, and I thought you were like absolutely adorable, and I just had to come meet you. And I'll just say something like that, and then if she lights up, it's like, oh, thanks, and I'll just basically get into a question like, oh, so, and it's one of those things like I'll basically, depending on what the little, what she's doing or whatever, I'm like, oh, here, is she like your best friend over here? and I'll just get like basically like a little question, like, and I know for the most part, like a lot of people say don't do normal conversation, but in some contexts it's actually better because it kind of, you know, it's something that, you know, by you going direct, it's very intense emotions, like, whoa, okay, and then you can actually get into something else. But one of the things I'll do is it also depends. I try to build a little bit of intrigue on it too, because I try to there's a little bit. Some of the stuff I'm doing now, it's a little bit more strategic, and I'm trying to become like. I don't focus on so much of what to say, but I focus on what's the emotions that I want to trigger in her. You know, intrigues are good because it pulls her. It starts. It's like the beginning of the sexual tension. Because one of the things about the emotions of intrigue, it's kind of like you're leaving information out, and she's wanting to learn more about you. She's like, oh, what's going on here? So, actually, one of the things, I went out with Richard not too long ago, and we were at the Luxor. And there was these girls who were the fantasy girls from the Luxor. And I noticed that one of them, particularly, she's very kind of touched, just by the way she was touching, and just kind of her vibe. I noticed, okay, she's my type of girl. So yeah, I went direct. I'm like, you are just too cute. What's your name? And then she's like, oh hey, blah blah. And she kind of like whoa, okay. And then she started talking. It's like, oh, I'm, you know, I don't know, Miranda or something. And then basically what I told him, like, I've actually heard a rumor going around about you already. And she's like, what? You know, because she's like, that's like an intense intrigue.
Oh yeah, she wants to know what the hell.
Yeah, and I actually told her, like, oh, actually I heard that you're like a master. What did I say? Something about a master being her like
Dominatrix.
Not a dominatrix. It's something like because there was mojitos, like you're a master mojito mixer or something like that. It's like, oh, okay. And then right there I can just get into the comfort, get into like more connecting and rapport. And then once I talk about like little things she's into, whatever, and then I'll say it's like sometimes it really depends on like how fast I want to get the number or how fast I want to escalate or what the context is. But then I'll get to a point where I want to get the number and we're finished connecting. I try to connect on values, like what she's really passionate about. And from there I'm like, hey, you know, it's great talking to you, like very awesome. I'll give her a high five or something. And I try to keep it a little bit physical but not weird. And, you know, I actually got to go, but it was really good meeting you. And I'll basically was the old Ross Jeffries thing, like, what's the best way to keep in touch? You know, or it's like, one of the things, it's, you know, again, from there, it's like, I'll basically, like, one of the things I'm doing right now is like, what's your email? We'll keep in touch on Facebook. And then once she puts her email, like, put down your number. And then she'll put out her number.
Secondary, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically, it's like in sales they call it like a yes ladder. Mm-hmm. Somebody says yes to one thing, that they're most likely to say yes to the next thing. And then one of the things I've been doing a lot lately, it's right before I leave, and I already said goodbye, and I'll say to her, I'm like, yeah, if anything, we'll make cool friends. That's like my favorite
I
thing.
love that line.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing. Like, I don't know who came up with it, but ever since I heard that.
I think that's David D.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, ever since, like, somebody told me, somebody in the community actually told me that, and I was like, I'm going to use that one.
Works great because it kind of like says you're not after her, you know, and she's like going, damn, this guy's not trying to get my pants all of a sudden. It's just, I don't know, it's just, yeah, it works. It works good.
Yeah, so that's actually, you know, I try to switch it up, but like now more days, like I try to be focused on like the emotional things, it's weird because like, yeah, it's one of those things that like when I'm in the moment, like there's a difference between, one of the things I understand about the whole dating game and like using different frameworks and ideas, is that there's a difference between being on your game and in your game. Does that make sense? So there's a difference between being like, you know, looking at it from like a skyscraper, like looking it down, like, okay, here's where the pieces go, this is how the structure works, blah, blah, blah. But then when you're in it, you're just in the moment, you're flowing, you're not really thinking of much, and you're just kind of, you know, going from one thing to another thing, just ripping off, and at the end of the thing, like, oh, we're here now. I don't know if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's one of those things that, like, when I get questions like, oh, what do you do in this situation? I'm like, I don't know, it depends, you know? But there's, like, rules of thumb for the most part.
Are you using any Cartier Funny stuff from David D?
I've actually haven't been using too much of the cocky funny, but yeah, the cocky funny stuff is like I have a buddy of mine who's like a total natural, and he says that like I told him about the cocky funny stuff, and he's like, oh shit, that's what I use all the time. Yeah, so I noticed the guys who are like really like naturals. I actually one time when I was at a bar, I don't know what I was doing, and I was just kind of chilling, kicking back, and I don't know, where these girls just walk up to me and say something like, these girls are like total like the fun chicks, so like the bar, and they come up to me and they're like, we're hopeless romantics, and it's just kind of random, like I was like, oh, okay, that explains why you look like trouble.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh my god, and then we started talking, and then they were actually out of town from Missouri or somewhere in the wherever, the U.S. And then we started talking, like, we got on the topic of Las Vegas and how awesome it is here and blah, blah. And like, yeah, we're thinking about moving here. It's like, how do you like it? It's like, it's okay. And, you know, it's very diverse. There's a lot going on. And he's like, yeah, you know, we should move in. I want to move into your place, blah, blah, and we can just whatever. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could be able to put up with your shit. And then she was like, what? And then she started like qualifying, like, no, like, you know, I can cook, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. So, yeah, but, yeah, direct game is, I don't know, it's one of those things that it's basically, yes, we'll take it or leave it. You just go very, very, like, you know what you want, and you don't give a fuck what happens. And you kind of have to, like, yeah, grab your balls and just go for it. You know, and it's one of those things that one of the things that I did when I first started to go out and approach, before I even did it, like, yeah, I felt a lot of these emotions, and I just felt really tense, and I don't know, I just wouldn't do it. But until I kind of accepted the fact that, hey, you know, I'm going to put myself out there, and just by me doing that, I'm going to get rejected. You know, like, it's one of those, you know, facts of reality that the part of you your ego doesn't want to deal with that. It doesn't, you know, because we want to keep an image of, hey, I'm a cool guy, hey, I get what I want, you know, and I'm just like the baddest shit, you know, the baddest motherfucker ever. And but if we get rejected, what does that mean? You know, what does that mean about it? You know, and it's one of those things that I had to accept. Like, hey, I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna get rejected, and it's okay. It doesn't have to mean anything. And if I just play the numbers, you know, play the odds, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Because yeah, like one of those things that, you know, just by getting those 2-3 girls that you hook up with, maybe the 4 other girls that rejected you, it's okay because you got these really, really hot girls, and the other rejections don't matter. You just forget about them. Damn. And it's one of those things like, yeah, some girls can be like really, really mean and just be like very like obnoxious and talk shit, and you just have to like, kind of like, yeah, smile at it and just be like, oh, yep, you're cool. You're cool. Like, all right, that's cool, whatever, and just kind of smile back. And it's one of those things that like if they can't see that you're just having fun and you're being playful or you're just, you know, in it, then, you know, it is her loss. Like, you know, it's whatever. So
My question is, you know, when hitting girls, I prefer larger groups and smaller groups. What's some good approaches about hitting girls when there's just, say, like 2 of them? Because I seem to have the most challenging time, and I only go out during the day, never, ever at night. But when there's just 2, that seems really hard to get one. If it's just 1, I do okay. If there's 3 or 4, you know, I play the odds.
okay.
But when there's 2, two's a challenge.
Yeah. One of the things is, yeah, I'll go up to them like, what are you girls up to? You guys look very mischievous over here. And it's just you kind of playing that card like, yeah, you guys are up to something. I don't know what, but I'm in on it. You know, so, or you can say something like, just, I've actually, like, I'll go direct in like a huge group, and it's actually like even if there's like a lot of girls, and I was like, hey, and I just go direct on one of them. Like, this doesn't sound like off the cuff, out of the, you know, fucking out of whatever. And sometimes like I'll be like mumbling stuff and like it doesn't even make sense, And like, but women's like, oh, that's weird. That's like spontaneous. I try to develop that spontaneity. And like, yeah, sometimes I'll say stuff that doesn't even make sense because they can feel like it's genuine, like you're actually saying this as like women feel that you want to get into that place where you can go into a situation without even knowing what to say, but you can start coming up with shit as you go, and women will feel like, oh wow, this guy is he's just being him, and this is what's coming up for him, and he's willing to just express it. That's really rare. But yeah, with big groups of girls, I'll just go very, very direct. I'm like, this doesn't sound random, but I was walking by and I noticed, and I'll point the girl out, and I noticed you, and I thought you were just amazingly adorable, and I just had to come meet you. And like, for the most part, like, the first time I did the direct approach was, 2 girls, and I went direct on one, and I told her, they were just super adorable. And then the other girl just like lit up, like, and it was like a good response on both ends. So.
Wow. Was she like trying to hook you up with the other one?
Well, I got the number. It was just so long ago.
Yeah.
But the other girl was kind of pushing it, like, oh yeah,
right.
he's a catch. But just test, see what works. And it's one of those things that like know that there's a difference between. Because a lot of guys I used to get this wrong too, and it's something you have to kind of program in. But it's know that there's a difference between your self-worth, like your thinking, who you are, what you're about, your self-image, your ability, like your actual skill, your ability to actually do something, and your performance. What's the results that you get out of it? Because sometimes we'll go through something, and our results will suck, and then we'll link it to your self-worth, like, oh, I suck, or oh, But it has nothing to do with you and who you are and your self-worth. It has to do with your skill and ability, and what the responses you're able to get. And the more you increase your skill, the better the results in your performance will be. But don't learn to like detach your performance with your self-worth. If that makes any sense. It's one of those things that it took me a while to kind of get it in there, but I can go into a room and just kind of go do my thing, work out different skills and abilities, and if they don't go the way I want them to, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about who I am as a person or what my self-worth and it doesn't have to affect my self-esteem. Because I know that I don't know if you guys ever read anything about Nathaniel Branden. He's like the modern father of like self-esteem, but he talks about different practices. It says that living consciously, personal responsibility, personal integrity. What's the other one? I can't think of it at the top of my head. But these are certain practices that will build your self-esteem. But these are the things that you have to do to get yourself to feel more worthy, to get the things that you want, so you can feel like you do deserve them. But know that your car, your six-pack, your assets, your house, all your outer stuff will help you, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't define your self-worth. Because if we do that and then we lose all that stuff, then we feel like we're nothing. If that makes sense. So, and actually, like I've been times where like totally broke, didn't have any money, didn't have a job, and I would just be like, fuck, I don't have anything externally, but I do have, some value by expressing certain things about myself. I can talk to women, have a good time, but even though I don't have anything materially, but I still have this, this experience that I can share with her, and that's what's valuable. So.
Some good shit.
Thanks.
Could you say the thing about we can be just friends? Walking away from girls. What was that again?
Yeah, if anything, we'll make cool friends. And it kind of throws women off. It's like, one of the reasons why it works is that you're kind of subtly putting, like, it's like you're almost, she doesn't know if you're putting her in the friend zone or not. It's like basically you're doing it to her, and she's always used to doing that to guys. And she's like, whoa, what's going on here? So
I've done that on day 2s and it works good too.
Really?
Like meeting in a coffee shop and you're getting done, say, look, I got to get going, I have a bunch of stuff I have to do, but it's nice to meet you. Maybe we can just be friends. Who knows, I do something like that, and they're like, then I ask them later on, what attracted you to me? Because you're always wanting to find out. And she said, well, you just basically said straightforward that, we could just be friends and that kind of stuff, and that really just pushed me forward. I was just like, holy crap. So I use that a lot,
Yeah.
It is a good one.
And that's a David D.
I think it's David D. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember like when I first started, like I heard that one and I was like,
Because girls do that shit on us all the time.
Yeah.
They do that all the time,
That's how you get into the friend zone.
yeah, but if you're like kind of about, it sounds like you're about to put in her friend zone. She's like, no, that can't happen to me. It's like their ego gets involved almost a little bit.
No, I see value in that. I see value.
But yeah, I don't know. A lot of this stuff is just like, yeah, the more you just kind of like whatever fear or problem comes up, just go for it. Just like, what's the worst that can happen? And even if it does happen, doesn't mean anything anyways.
Next.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah. On to the next.
Yeah. And see, one of the things that like got me really good really fast, like living in Vegas, there's like so much traffic of women. Like, like I've had times where I'd go out to like Carnival Court, and I would go try different approaches and try different things. And I remember saying one thing to a woman, and just having like her blow me off, and saying the exact same thing to another woman, and having her response well. And I was like, oh shit, all right.
That's, yeah.
And it would be like bam, rejected. Okay, next, and then a good response. And I was like, so that means she was just not in the mood. She had some problem, whatever. That's her shit, not mine. So, but yeah, really like I remember when I first heard that like, oh, dating's a numbers game. Like I would kind of always hear that from guys who were just kind of good, and then like part of me is like, fuck, like numbers, like what the fuck do I have to do math? But it's like, it's really, you have to just play the odds. Sometimes, maybe she's a racist, doesn't like Hispanic guys, can't do anything about it. Next. I don't know if you guys took the survey that I sent out.
No.
Yeah.
I did a couple hours ago.
Oh, okay. Oh shit, yeah, I didn't get that one yet. But yeah. So as far as like the one question, I don't know what you put on it.
I don't know. What were the questions? Do you
I
recall?
think one was like, what's your biggest fear with women and dating or something like that.
Yeah, so that one I didn't answer.
Okay, then there was like, what's the one question if you want to have answered? It would be the only one to have answered. What would it be?
Oh, on that one, how to get girls just to keep it simple. The problem I keep running into with chicks is they want a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. I don't know how to get girls that I can just play with and bang, that don't want more and more from me, that don't want more of my time. Some people are saying it's kind of a blessing, but I think it's a curse. I can get a little bit of play. So that's not my challenge. But I just want some play. That's it. I'm just interested in
No
play.
strings attached, basically.
Sure. Well, I want little string.
Yeah.
I'm not into one night stands. I'm into like a month, 2 weeks, and I don't know how to keep bridging that gap because they keep coming at, and then I'm just I'm just not interested. So I need to learn how to just. I'm either saying something or doing something because I'm so not interested in commitment, and I don't even use that word or the C word with the girls. That's a challenge I keep having. It's just they keep wanting more and more.
I'm gonna go sit in your fridge.
Okay,
it's okay. Okay.
You might want to do is the power of story is really powerful. So if you can put in a story saying that how you can actually say something like, what I like about you, I don't really know you too well.
So the problem with my place, the air conditioner
not very,
sounds like the
trying to
Nordic.
take things really fast. I can tell that you're the kind of girl that likes to take things slow and just kind of progress as you go.
It's so freaking loud in my apartment, it like wakes you up. It's that.
Putting it in her mind.
You have to turn up the
she's the
TV
type of
and shit
girl
when it's on.
that's not trying to commitment so quickly.
sorry.
Just kind of. She's the type of girl that likes to wait and just take the time and enjoy the process.
That's good. I've never said anything.
Yeah, just kind of and mention how.
Just put that little note. Cue her up for that at the beginning.
Exactly. And even when you say that, you can see it's sort of like, the last girl I was dating, she was a great girl, but one of the things that I didn't like about her is that she was trying to push me to commit. And I noticed that just by talking to you, I can tell that you're really, you know, you're not that self, you know, like you're playing on the story that, you know, this other girl, you know, we're dating, we're having something good,
Let's think about
and then
possibly
you try to commit and
doing like
screw it up.
a little subset.
I'm gonna use that.
I-
That's awesome.
I-
That is awesome.
Doing like
If I learned
Ditto,
anything,
man.
that is
I
good.
call it avatar
Yeah.
building, which
It's
is
basically
like
just
going out and doing shit.
So, like, you're not saying, hey, don't do this to me, but you're saying,
I gotcha.
Rock
Yeah.
climbing.
Basically, horror, that's what scares you off.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what I'm
take
fucking
pictures of,
thinking, but I'm just
and
too
use
stupid
nice
to figure
profiles.
out saying. And that's
Yeah.
actually a little bit of common
Yeah.
sense.
That's-
It's like if you're the cheater, you're
in a
accusing
group
the other
of guys,
person
you
of
got- you
cheating.
probably
That's
get
actually because you're
discounts and
cheating.
shit, you know, so
Yeah.
people
This kind of thing. Huh? All right. Thanks, man. I like that. And I like that, if anything else, we could just.
You're gonna